I said to myself, it was actually a couple of days ago, one, not going to compare myself to anybody because they're not me and they can't do the things that I can do, and nor can I do the things that they can do, so all I can do is like basically bring you down or make you upset because you're not that person, No, I said to myself, I was just like, you know what? Go back to the love of everything that you're doing and forget all the rest of that stuff and just work hard, really work. And I think that's really what it comes down to, putting in those hours.
I don't know if you've been keeping track, but if you have, this is episode 50. I actually never thought we would get here when we started. I guess I didn't think we would persevere, but the podcast has been one of those things where when I was a little bit spotty with getting things up every week, people would email me like, people noticed when you're not consistent. And we've been very consistent recently, so this is episode 50, and I want to do something special. A shout out to TJ Eckelberg. I just want to give a shout out to our editing person that really helps us get these sounding good. I would love you to put in some kind of cool sound effect for episode 50, so do it.
For this special episode, this milestone episode, I wanted to talk to Derek Rodenbeck again, who we talked to twice before. The first time about working as a comic book artist. Then the next time you were starting a new clothing company called Living Up. Was that 3 months ago, or was it longer than that?
Estimate 3 months ago. And also, thank you for having me for the 50th episode. That's freaking awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks, and I'm excited because we've got like a story, that's it's continuing on. I've been watching a lot of TV recently, and I noticed how you're watching Supernatural, and they've got their one-off episodes, but then they start bringing in this like recurring storyline. So I'm happy that we can catch up and hear where you're at right now because you're doing something new. You're doing something cool. You're starting something from the ground, and you're willing to talk about it. I want our listeners to hear and hopefully to be inspired and just say like, look, if you want to do something, just freaking do it, do it. The last time we talked, as I recall, you're talking about like you had just met some mentors and you're really excited about the possibilities and you're really taking things seriously and they were helping guide you. Why don't you catch us up? What's happened, since then? Because that was really the very beginning. I think you had some preliminary graphics, but actually, you were just about to get your first samples delivered from, I want to say Argentina, but I can't remember where they were being manufactured.
It was out in Philadelphia. I was doing something with somebody out in Portugal, but
Portugal, that was the one.
That's definitely held off right now. Dove in a little too deep right there. Yeah, I mean, as far as everything's been going, everything has been going like exponentially well in the sense that I have now kind of figured out new directions and figured out a lot of different problems. Living Up changed from an idea to a clothing company to wanting to take it one way to another way to coming full circle, coming back to art. And Living Up is not just an extension of a clothing company, but it's more of an idea. Living Up is your fullest potential, becoming your fullest potential, and living that way. In doing so, with this clothing company, I've actually started building 2 other t-shirt companies alongside of it, and then an art services company, and then I've actually jumped back into comics.
Are you crazy? That's like 5 things. What are you doing?
I'm trying a little bit of everything right now, I know, it's a little nuts, but as far as the 2 other clothing companies, one's called Beta Wolf, and the other one is called Warrior Class. Warrior Class is focused on just graphic tees for the soldier, mostly geared towards American combat veterans. I myself being a veteran, that's something close to my heart, it was a part of my life. Beta Wolf is the complete opposite of everything, making fun of pretty much everything. So gym apparel, more like on the lighter side, the funnier side of stuff. So it's not serious. And the motto for that is just kind of laugh at life.
I got to ask before we go any further, like, why are you doing so much stuff? I just feel like there's enough with doing one company, but we're just talking about clothing companies right now, but then you also mentioned art services, and I don't know, I just feel like I've been there. I'm juggling the multiple balls, And it's so, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to put too much of my bias in here,
No,
but
it's fine.
I just see it and I'm like, my gut is just saying like, you can't do that. I want to be proven wrong, but it just feels like to get one thing rolling takes so much effort trying to bring up several things at the same time. Like, how do you rationalize all these different initiatives?
I think for me, it's learning to fail like fast, and unfortunately, I haven't done so hot with living up. I mean, launched it, everything, but unfortunately for me, like capital wasn't in the cards. So everything that I was using to like actually manufacture and make stuff was coming out of what I would make in my personal life. Like I wasn't really too into like getting loans, and I wasn't really searching for investors and stuff because I did want to bring this up on my own. In doing so, this is bogged down. Like I'll get a lot of people stopping me and saying, "Hey, that's awesome T-shirt," all this stuff, and you tell them that you made it. Like it feels good and everything, but it's not translating into sales. So it's been this process of trying to figure out, okay, we're not selling now. What do I got to do next? What do I got to figure out? And I think a lot of that has to do with trial and error. And I've decided to start working on other projects that coincide with what I'm doing, now. Try and broaden that horizon, broaden those scopes. These aren't all things I'm working on simultaneously, but some of these things are things that I'm doing, just little chunks here and there, trying to throw something on a wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, I've definitely been there. And I remember there's a quote, and I believe it was from Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Mm-hmm. And he said, like 1 out of 10 businesses succeeds, or said another way, it's like 9 out of 10 businesses fail. So what do? Well, you start 10 businesses.
Right. Yeah, you just keep trying.
But it's so hard.
It is.
But
it is very hard.
So you said like it's not, and I mean this podcast is kind of different than what we've usually been talking about. But I think this is so fascinating because it's like it's actually happening. It's where things are really at, and so I want to dive into it a little bit. And so people are seeing you wearing the T-shirt, mm-hmm. and then they're like, "Hey, that's an awesome T-shirt."
Oh, yeah.
And then you're saying, "Sweet. How about this? I'll whip out my phone and you give me your credit card and I've got this little Square or PayPal or whatever transaction thing. I'll swipe your card. It'll charge you for $20 and I'll have it in the mail for you later today and you'll have it in 2 or 3 days."
Yeah, essentially. And you meet a lot of resistance because I'm finding that like branding isn't just, hey, I have something cool, wear this. It is when you're like somebody that's famous or something like that. But me being who I am, just a guy who's an artist and somebody who just enjoys experiencing life and meeting people and doing artwork. In the grand scheme of things, people don't necessarily know who I am. So relating to those people. So I'm trying personally to get more my story out there and how I can connect with people, because that's really what everything is about, like building a connection with people. It's like that next step, it's like none of this is bad. Like the fact that I haven't sold very much is not bad. It's just an obstacle. And I recently read a book called The Obstacle is the Way. Like that's really the mentality you got to have. Like any obstacle that is in your way is the way. And trying to figure out from that obstacle what to do next. It's basically based on Stoicism. I don't know if you're familiar with like Stoic philosophy. Yep. Yeah. So I've really been trying to focus with like more of a Stoic outlook on things, and also if things aren't working, trying to figure out what I have to do to make them work, and if they just don't work at all, not be afraid to walk away from them, even if it's something you put your heart into.
And so where are you at then with Living Up? Is your apartment filled with boxes of T-shirts, or?
There's like two boxes. One that I'm waiting to print. I've had other people interested in being involved and stuff, and when it comes time for like tasks, because it's not like their own, they people tend to fall off a lot. And this isn't me like reaching out. This is just people coming to me. So it's very interesting to come basically to these bridges and be like, all right, what's the toll here?
I think it, I breathe it. Look out the rain. Where you, where anybody sees only a drop of water rolling down the window, I see a universe of beings animated with all the passions common to physical life.
It's just been a huge learning experience so far. And I know that this is going to build upon growing into something bigger or better, or something will click and this will grow too.
That's a great attitude to have, because it really is just a journey and learning. And I know, people get frustrated with their art and they put in 1 month into it.
Right.
It's like,
and you can't.
Come on, man. You're like comparing yourself to somebody who's putting in 10 years along this path. And the same thing goes with the business side of things. Like, you do have to learn and you do have to get an education one way or another. Like,
right.
Yes, you could go to school, but that only takes you so far. And then you got to get out into the real world. Key is that it just takes time to acquire this knowledge. And, some people that you see and you look up to as rock stars, like, you don't know how they grew up. You don't know what their situation was. They could have been, running their lemonade stand from when they were like 4 years old.
Right.
And then they had their uncle, who was a tycoon, has been mentoring them since then.
Exactly.
And it's like, yeah, of course they hit it big when they were 18. They know how to play the game. I don't know. I don't know what separates one t-shirt from another. We did an interview with Ugg Monk, and he was having a lot of success with his sort of like typeface-based minimalist design t-shirts, and I think they were really great, and he got some really good early traction.
Right.
I believe it's just uggmonk.com, and you can check out his stuff. But I feel like Living Up, it's hard to attach myself to that unless you were like, I feel like Tony Robbins could launch a Living Up thing, and it wouldn't be too big of a deal because that's what he's associated with. But I think it's difficult when you're a little bit of an unknown, because it's not that tangible.
Right, and that's okay. That's not anything that's scary to me. I think for me personally, out of the frustration and the thinking, I said to myself, it was actually a couple days ago, I'm not going to compare myself to anybody, because they're not me and they can't do the things that I can do, and nor can I do the things that they can do. So all I can do is like basically bring you down or make you upset, because you're not that person. No, I said to myself, I was just like, you know what, go back to the love of everything that you're doing and forget all the rest of that stuff and just work hard, really work. And I think that's really what it comes down to, putting in those hours and talking to people, engaging with people. Yeah,
definitely. And I think like that's something that I've always seen every time that I've talked to you, is like hard work is just, that's part of your core. That's part of who you are. I want to talk about the other two brands, because the brand that was for the soldiers, I think that's great, because it's something you can identify with. It's something that your customer can identify that you're authentic. You can bring your skill as a comic book artist and as an illustrator and as a creative to a world basically that's not. I've actually met quite a few very talented artists who are in the military,
right.
But I feel like that's like your angle there, that you're like, I'm one of you, and I've got this crazy skill on top of it, and so now I'm putting something out for you, that ties in with my experience and what I'm learning about myself, and just about all the things that you're learning. And I feel like that sounds like a winning bet. That sounds like a winning recipe to me, more so than the other two.
Right, and I think for me, it's going to be one of those things where it doesn't take me long to do a drawing. It takes me a day to a day and a half to do a drawing. I can come up with an idea, put out work, and like I said, see if something fits, something sticks. One of the biggest thing I've learned is not building something in a sense of making everything clear cut, ready to go. Just start putting stuff out there. Say I have one T-shirt for Warrior Class, or one T-shirt for Beta Wolf, or one T-shirt for Living Up. Forget even building like the LOCs and all the legal documentation. All that. Just get it out there and see if people test it. See if people want it.
And I love being in idea mode. It's not the best place to be because it's all about the execution. But here's something I'm thinking about. What if you went to people that I want to say squadron or crew or group. What if you went back to those people and you drew your group? So I don't know how many people would be in your core unit. I think that's the word that I'm looking for. How many people would be in that? But let's say it's like there were 6 or 7 of you guys and you're like, that was your tight group that you were with. And what if you drew those people and sent it out to your friends and just said, hey guys, I drew this, like I was thinking about you guys and I just wanted to send you this. What do you think? I'm thinking about doing drawings for other units that want to sort of just have something that they can commemorate their time together. And what do you think? See what happens from there. It's something that's not scalable at all. The next phase of this idea would be to put these onto t-shirts or to sell prints of these. And they would each be a unique drawing. You'd potentially sell like 5 to 10 if people want them for family. However, this introduces people to your brand. Now you've got different t-shirts that these people actually want that can appeal to anybody. It's specifically made for the military, but you've basically gotten your foot in the door by doing these separate pieces for people. What is that? What does hearing that sound like to you? Is that crazy talk?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm not sure if that would actually fly. As far as like drawing people and portraits and things like that, that's just, I don't know, like it's not a very big interest for me. It's as bad as that sounds. I've always enjoyed drawing people. And obviously, being involved in comic books and things like that. I'm
talking in comic book style though. Like I remember that picture of the Hulk that I was talking about in our first interview.
Right.
Something that's actually in your style, in that comic book style. It's like playful, it's fun. It doesn't have to be realistic.
That's under the art services company that I've started working on actually. So something kind of like that.
Yeah. So if you're doing those, does it still sound like crazy talk? I'm curious about building a t-shirt brand and like you've pivoted. Now you've got 3 different angles. What's the plan to move forward with these, especially the military brand? And if you have some like trade secrets or something you don't want to talk about, then that's fine. But I feel like of the 3, this is the one that I would put money behind being successful versus the other 2 because it's something tangible. You know who your customer is. With the other 2, you don't know who the customer is.
Right.
And so how do you move forward with that? If somebody's listening here and they're in the same position, like, I'm not getting any traction with this thing, I would say step 1 is nail down who your customer is. So you've done that and you said, okay, it's soldiers, or there's a connection with the military and with soldiers. But then where do you go from there?
Basically building actually t-shirts that I don't have to hold on to product to. So making minimal output as far as my capital investment and making artwork that can be printable and outsourced to a company, whether it be, I know there's a company, Real Thread down, and I think they're in Florida, that you can have them do everything. You're going to mitigate your profit margins, but at the same time, you're going to be pushing out larger number of t-shirts without you really doing the actual investment and stuff like that. I'm not sure if Real Thread does stuff, but almost like doing stuff like on the internet where you upload your designs and then like they pretty much take care of everything else. And then you go from there. And then as you grow, be able to hold your own stock and go from there.
What's stopping you from going the Teespring route?
A lot of it was the artwork. Unfortunately, a lot of the artwork I do is either you need to do like sublimation printing, which is like a dye, or you would have to do direct-to-garment printing. So basically, I gotta not dumb down the artwork, but go less hard with color separations and variations and things of that nature.
Do you think you could do like test runs on Teespring with just black and white art and validate? That's
really what the next step is test running on these other sites. And I've been sending teas off, sending stuff off to like some people I know in Japan and, just trying to get things kind of going. But, I think like that's like the next logical thing. And then doing like a Facebook campaign to see if people respond to it through some advertising.
Do you have like artwork ready to go?
Not yet, no.
I always love to push people when they're kind of on the edge, and I feel like you're right there. Yeah. If you had artwork ready to go, I'd be like, all right, dude, artwork up, Facebook ad campaign, because Facebook ads are so easy to get set up. Like, I can't believe how easy it is.
It's insane.
Google advertising is a completely different beast, but Facebook is really easy to get set up. And I would say, like, all right, man, like by tonight, send me some results of how many people saw your t-shirt and how many people bought it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I can have potentially 2 pieces done for the Warrior class. I do have 2 friends that really want to get involved with that too. So both veterans as well. So the 3 of us have been kind of talking and kicking things around or whatever, and it's getting ready to move like within this next week to that next phase. So it's just on me to start creating something.
Cool. So the ball's in your court, basically. Right. You just got to make your design, and then things are ready to roll.
The good news and the bad news is I actually just picked up a big freelance job this past week, and I was working on it and doing everything. And then they called me today and said, hey, you know what? We're going to have to cancel the job. Unfortunately, one of our parts in our machine broke. So I was like really relying on that like capital to come in, that cash to come in, not only just to like move forward with some stuff, but then like pay back some stuff, And so I was just like, I kind of woke up today. I was just like, all right, this could be a good thing though. So literally, like before you actually sent me a message on Skype, I had my sketchbook out on my table and I was going to start working on some stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I would challenge you to like set a hard deadline for yourself. And I know art does take time, but I'm sure you've got an idea in your head of something that you want to do. You're way more disciplined than I am. And yeah, I would even challenge you to like, okay, today's Wednesday. By Friday, like have your ads up and have something on Teespring. And I don't know, like I won't be around on this Friday, but if I can help you promote it, I will help you promote it. I want to see you take action on this thing and like take whatever that next step is. And I really think that the Warrior class idea sounds fantastic to me because it's something that very tangible. And just for the people listening, I know this is such a departure, but this is the real struggle. Like this is an important story that I hope you can see what Derek's doing. Like he's had to kind of take a step back and change direction a little bit. But it's not
a bad thing.
Difficult, I would say. It's sort of just like it just takes time for these things to figure themselves out. And the most important thing is to continue to take that next step forward, whatever that be. And you might not even know what the next step forward is, but you just take a step anyway, because, doing that means you're going to learn something. Is it a positive or a negative step? And then you can start to correct course again and find out where you want to be.
I come to find that the more that like something like is a bump in the road, I'm just like, oh crap, that didn't work. Or, like you put something out there and it's like completely rejected by everyone, I find the more that you do that, the easier it's become to do new things. Really not caring what it is that if you're going to get backlash, if you're going to get ignored, or if you're going to be praised, because then it comes full circle when you're just doing this for yourself and you're obviously trying to make some money at it and you're trying to build something great. But if it doesn't work, you move on.
I have something more, something none of your dry as dust professors and routine-ridden doctors have. Love, devotion, passion.
All right, I think we got to wrap this one up. Any last words before we go?
Actually, I started also working on a comic book. It's called No Panic, and that should be out within the next month and a half, I'd say. And that's collaborated with a Aspen Comics artist.
Nice.
So a little bit of comic book action. As always, I appreciate you having me on here, and I enjoy a conversation because then it just gets me thinking even more. I can't wait to talk to you guys again.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing your story, Derek. Since we've had Derek on the show a couple times before, I think the original one, if you want to listen to it, it's pencilkings.com/Derek Rodenbeck. That's DEREK-RODENBECK. I think the next one is /LIVN
UP.
UP. Yep. I'm not sure if there's a dash in between it. But this particular episode will be at /Derek Rodenbeck DEREK-RODENBECK-3. So that'll be DEREK-RODENBECK-3. And we'll have links to the previous episodes and some of the other things that we mentioned in this episode. So thank you once again, Derek. I will follow up with you in a couple months just to see where things are at. And I want to get you inside the Pencil Kings community because I know we got so many comic book fans in there. And I know that, from all of your experience, you can share a lot with them.
I would love to.
Thanks once again. I'll be in touch about that very soon.
Wonderful.
Take care.
All right, I'll see you.
Truth demands patience, skill, years of practice.
Ah, you talk like a fool. I would trade a century of practice for an ounce of inspiration.
That does it for another episode of the Pencil Kings podcast. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, we're everywhere. See you guys soon.